another video or live stream, which is the same name. I apologize, folks. I was trying to, what's it called? Um, I was trying to get my Bible, but I left it in my dorm. So I had to go back to get it, you know. So that's what I did. So if you see me sweaty, that's because I was, here, which is pretty hot and, well, not hot, but warm. And then I had to walk back and forth to come back here. So without further ado, um, chapter 6, which we went over in the morning, was Solomon dedicating the temple to the Lord. Solomon, God appeared to him, and Solomon asked for wisdom in his prayer of praise. And God gives him this wisdom, which we saw earlier. I thought there would be a section where the wisdom of Solomon would be put to the test, but I guess not. So basically, what happens, two women argue over the child, and then Solomon has, one of them is trying to take away the mother's child, the real mother's child. Solomon says, all right, cut it in half and give one half to the other. The real mother is like, or the fake mother is, no, if I can't have it, neither can she. And the real mother is like, even if I can't, even if I don't get it, please don't harm my child. So that's what happens. But that was way in Second Kings, I believe. Um, so, what else? Hmm. Um, so that was, bro's talking to 0 viewers. Well, build, break, fix. God bless you and welcome in. Um, it's not necessarily the just to talk to viewers. In fact, right now there are 12 viewers according to YouTube. Of course, some of them might be fake or real. Who knows? I'm not sure. But the purpose is not to gain live viewers. It's a matter of, just putting it out there. But if I have 0 viewers, I actually don't mind. I actually will run smoother because there's no viewers to that will, you know, I don't have any comments so I can progress further. Jay Gemma, God bless you and welcome in. How's it going, folks? To every one of y'all watching, God bless y'all. What's this stream about? Well, we're gonna read the Bible. How do you know about it? All right. Um. So yeah. All right. Anyways, yeah, God gives him this wisdom to Solomon that he asked for, plus riches and wealth that he decided not to ask for. And then Solomon, after praying, oh, wait, that was yesterday. Sorry. No, in chapter 6, Solomon, my apologies to you folks. Solomon actually makes a prayer of praise, just like David. And Solomon also adds, if there's anybody who sins but is, if they sin but they repent, please do not turn your ear against them, but rather hear them. Um, if there's any plague, famine, disease that they have, please hear their supplication and allow them to repent if there's any wrongdoing. All right. Give me just a moment. Be right back. Right. I will warn you that there is music coming up every once in a while on whatever station is on. Hold on, let this subside. You might not be able to hear me. Hold on. Actually, I'm shutting these two applications down. All right, so hopefully y'all can hear me now. So, yeah, chapter 6, Solomon makes a prayer. Eventually he says, "Nobody's like you, Lord. If there be any sinners who repent, hear them, Lord, and tend to them. If there are any misfortunes to them, hear their prayers that they pray from their hearts. And to anybody who calls you Lord, hear them as well. Hear your people," in other words. And then he offers sacrifice, and fire comes down from heaven to consume the sacrifices and the burnt offering. Average Discord mod? Well, Giga Biga 74, God bless you and welcome in. How's it going? I don't even use Discord anymore. Well, sometimes I do, but not often. But anyways, um, then the Lord, sorry, they offer sacrifices, and then the amount of sacrifices was enough to exceed the capacity of the bronze altar. All right, which is a testimony or testament to how big the glory of the Lord is. Right? You looked like Takashi 69 had diabetes. Or yeah, how's 6ix9ine now? I heard that I think he said at one point, I that he's not saved. He acknowledges that he sinned and stuff like that. The only song I heard from 6ix9ine was Gummo. Um, Anyways, back on topic. Solomon proceeds to have a feast. The sacrifices and the feast there in chapter 7. And finally, chapter 7 concludes with God's promise and warning. Keep up the good Lord's work, brother. God bless you, Jack. Thank you so much. And welcome in. You're welcome back anytime, folks. So God promises to abide by what King Solomon said, but why King Solomon requested in prayer to the Lord. But he also warned, as long as you stay with me, as long as y'all stay with me, I'll be with y'all. But if you, specifically Solomon, and everyone else, of course, if you'll turn away from my statutes and commandments, I'll make your land a utter trash that everybody will make fun of this land. That's basically what he said. So, all right. Now, again, that is a foreshadow of what's to come for King Solomon. Not not just King Solomon, but the rest of Israel. Sorry, folks. But yeah, that's basically what it is all about. Chapter 7. Chapter 6 was Solomon's dedication of the temple and his prayer to the Lord to hear every person who repents of his sins. And then chapter 7, the Lord appears again. He promises to deliver as Solomon here promised or prayed for. But he has one warning. If anybody turns away from the Lord's ways, then those people, and he warns this to Solomon, but everyone actually, anyone who turns away from the Lord and serves false idols and false gods will inflict damage upon themselves, and their land will be made an utter landfill of garbage. Right? So, we're going to read chapter 8, folks. Sorry that I took so long to explain everything that happened from 6 and 7. Yep. Yeah, that's right, folks. Make your 6-7 jokes right now. Well, if you want to. I don't really mind. That was 2025, though, so now it's 2026. I'm not sure what y'all have for new viral memes now. But we're going to read 8 and 9. Let's read chapter 8. Solomon's activities and accomplishments. Sorry if I go off a tangent, folks. I tend to go off a tangent every once in a while. Alright. Now it came about at the end of the 20 years in which Solomon had built the house of the Lord in his own house, that he built the cities which Hiram had given him, and settled the sons of Israel there. Then Solomon went to Hamath-zobah and captured it. He built Tadmor in the wilderness, and all the storage cities which he had built in Hamath. He also built Upper Beth Horon and Lower Beth Horon, which were fortified cities with walls, gates, and bars. And Baalath had all the storage cities that Solomon had, and all the cities for his chariots and cities for his horsemen, and everything that had pleased Solomon to build in Jerusalem, Lebanon, and all the land under his rule. All of the people who were left of the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites who were not of Israel, that is, from their descendants who were left after them in the land whom the sons of Israel had not destroyed, Solomon raised them as forced laborers to this day. But Solomon did not make slaves from the sons of Israel for his work, for they were men of war, his chief captains and commanders of his chariots and his horsemen. These were the chief officers of King Solomon, 250 who ruled over the people. Then Solomon brought Pharaoh's daughter up from the city of David to the house which he had built for her, for he said, "My wife shall not live in the house of David, king of Israel, because the places where the ark of the Lord has entered are holy." Then Solomon offered burnt offerings to the Lord on the altar of the Lord, which he had built in front of the porch. And he did so according to the daily rule of offering them up according to the commandment of Moses, for the Sabbaths, the new moons, and the 3 annual feasts, the feast of unleavened bread, the feast of weeks, and the feast of booths. Now, according to the ordinance of his father David, he appointed the divisions of the priests for their service, and the Levites for their duties of praise and ministering before the priests, according to their daily rule, and the gatekeepers by their divisions at every gate. For this is what David, the man of God, had commanded, and they did not deviate from the commandment of the king to the priest. Are we back, folks? Let's see. Hopefully this stream hasn't terminated. All right. Well, my phone overheated, so I'll read greetings from Wendy's. God bless you, Wendy's. Welcome in, Metro. How's your day? Alright, so my phone just overheated, so yeah. Yikes. But I've got my truck on now, so it's supposed to be better. Alright, I'm going to read this paragraph again just in case y'all missed it. So according to the ordinance of his father David, he appointed the divisions of the priests for their service and the Levites for their duties of praise and ministering before the priests according to their daily rule, and the gatekeepers by their divisions at every gate. For this is what David the man of God had commanded, and they did not deviate from the commandment of the king to the priests and Levites in any manner or regarding the storehouses. Reading the Bible in traffic stream. Well, I'm parked, so that's good. Reading the Bible while driving, that would be dangerous. So I was tempted to do that recently, but I eventually decided not to, so there's that. Okay, so all the work of Solomon was carried out from the day of the foundation of the house of the Lord until it was finished. Still the house of the Lord was completed. What else? Then Solomon went to Ezion-Geber and to Eloth on the seashore in the land of Edom, and by his servants Hiram sent him ships and servants who knew the sea. And they went with Solomon's servants to offer and 450 talents of gold and brought it to King Solomon. Alright, hopefully my phone doesn't overheat now that I've got this on. But chapter 8, it establishes what Solomon did. He divided the priests for service, and he built cities that Hiram gave him, and he made slaves of the foreign tribes that the rest of the people, that the Israelites conquered. So yeah, so for example, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and Jebusites that were remaining, who were resistant to the killings, they were made slaves, or forced laborers, as they call them. But the rest of the Israelites fought in war. And then Pharaoh's daughter was brought by Solomon to the house of the Lord, or to his palace to live with Solomon, rather. And then burnt offerings according to commandments of Moses, Sabbaths, new moons, and 3 annual feasts of unleavened bread, feast of weeks, and feast of booths. And Hiram sent him ships and more servants, and thus gained 450 talents of gold to King Solomon. So, chapter 8 is a short summary of what Solomon did while he was in charge of being king over Israel. Chapter 9, visit of the Queen of Sheba. Now, when the Queen of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon, she came to Jerusalem to test Solomon with riddles. She had a very large entourage with camels carrying balsam oil and a large amount of gold and precious stones. And when she came to Solomon, she spoke with him about everything that was on her heart. Solomon answered all her questions. Nothing was hidden from Solomon which he did not explain to her. When the queen of Sheba had seen the wisdom of Solomon, the house which he had built, the food at his table, the seating of his servants, the attendance of the ministers and their attire, his cupbearers and their attire, and his stairway by which he went up to the house of the Lord, she was breathless. Yeah, she was breathless. Then she said to the king, "It was a true story that I heard in my own land about your words and your wisdom, but I did not believe their stories until I came and my own eyes saw it all. And behold, not even half of the greatness of your wisdom was reported to me." You have surpassed the report that I heard. How blessed are you men? How blessed are these servants of yours who stand before you continually and hear your wisdom. Blessed be the Lord your God who delighted in you, setting you on his throne as king for the Lord your God, because your God loved Israel, establishing them forever. He made you king over them to carry out justice and righteousness. Then she gave the king 120 talents of gold, and a very great amount of balsam oil and precious stones. There had never been balsam oil like that which the queen of Sheba gave King Solomon. Oh, we got it. Why is there? Dixon, God bless you and welcome in. How's it going? The servants of Hiram and the servants of Solomon, who brought gold from Ophir, also brought algum trees and precious stones. From the algum trees the king made steps to the house of the Lord and for the king's palace, and lyres and harps for the singers, and nothing like them was seen before in the land of Judah. King Solomon gave the queen of Sheba her every desire, whatever she requested, besides gifts equal to what she had brought to the king. Then she turned and went to her own land with her servants. Solomon's wealth and power. Now the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 666 talents of gold, besides what the traders and merchants brought, and all the kings of Arabia and the governors of the country brought gold and silver to Solomon. King Solomon made 200 large shields of beaten gold, using 600 shekels of beaten gold on each large shield. He made 300 shields of beaten gold, using 300 shekels of gold on each shield, and the king put them in the house of the forest in Lebanon. Moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with pure gold. There were 6 steps to the throne, and a footstool in gold attached to the throne, and arms on each side of the seats, and 2 lions standing beside the arms. 12 lions were standing there on the 6 steps, on one side and on the other. Nothing like it was made for any other kingdom. All King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. Silver was not considered valuable in the days of Solomon, for the king had ships which went to Tarshish with the servants of Hiram. Once every 3 years, the ships of Tarshish came bringing gold and silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. So King Solomon became greater than all the kings of the earth in wealth and wisdom. And all the kings of the earth were seeking the presence of Solomon to hear his wisdom which God had put in his heart, and they were bringing each of them his gift, articles of silver and gold, garments, weapons, balsam oil, horses, and mules, so much year by year. Now Solomon had 4,000 stalls for horses and chariots, and 12,000 horsemen, and he stationed them in the chariot cities with the king in Jerusalem. He was ruler over all the kings from the Euphrates River to the land of the Philistines, and as far as the border of Egypt. And the king made silver as common as stones in Jerusalem. And he made cedars as plentiful as sycamore trees that are in the lowland. And they were bringing horses for Solomon from Egypt and from all countries. Now, the rest of the acts of Solomon from first to the last, are they not written in the records of Nathan the prophet, in the prophecy of Ahijah the Shilonite, and in the visions of Iddo the seer concerning Jeroboam the son of Nebat? Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel for 40 years. Death of Solomon. And Solomon laid down with his fathers and was buried in the city of his father David, and his son Rehoboam reigned in his place. The word of the Lord. Praise be to God. Alright, folks, so that was chapter 9. So the Queen of Sheba visits and tests Solomon with riddles, to which Solomon reveals everything to the Queen of Sheba. So, it reminds me of, what was it? Book of Joshua or something? Or it might have been, or the Book of Judges, I think, where Samson is tested with riddles by someone who's I think their wife or some other woman. I think it was wife, and that wife tests with riddles and then is angry, I think Samson was angry at her, but then her father gives that person to another man. So that was awful. And you look like you're sweating in the car. Is it hot there? In the snow? In here, the snow is melting. Oh yeah. It was so bad that my phone overheated and I had to wait like 10 minutes or 5 minutes to get it cooled off with the AC of my truck. That's how bad it is. Yeah. Anyways, all of that from Judges aside, Solomon is tested by this Queen of Sheba, who's a riddler, and because Solomon reveals every secret to her. Solomon is transparent here. Queen of Sheba gives Solomon these words of these positive. Sorry, trying to word it. These words of positivity and of approval, and gave the King Solomon, gold and oil and precious stones. So King Solomon gave Queen Sheba all she wanted, and so the weight of gold in 1 year that Solomon had was 666. Yes, 666. The mark of the beast. I'm not even joking. This is what it says here. That's a creepy number. I've seen one here. So that's what happened. Solomon made beaten gold out of that, and made vessels and shields and other stuff out of gold. And then King Solomon became the greatest king during his time, and was given gifts by everybody seeking his wisdom, and horses and chariots and horsemen. and eventually he would follow idols and false gods, which would put him out of favor with the Lord. But that's not in this book right now. So, but I think that's worth mentioning. So, chapter 9, which is our last chapter, Queen of Sheba comes in and gives King Solomon gold, silver, and precious stones, or balsam oil, not silver. Hold on. Alright, sorry about that, folks. Alright. But, yeah. So, chapter 8 was Solomon and but building cities in which Hiram had given him, and making forced servants out of people who were survived the extermination out of the foreign tribes, and then other things that Solomon did along his reign of king. And then chapter 9, Queen of Sheba pays a visit to Solomon, and Solomon becomes the wealthiest king in his era, and then Solomon dies. So, shorter summary, Solomon dedicates the temple of the Lord to the Lord, of course. He prays to the Lord for mercy, and then the Lord, they offer sacrifices to him and feasts of dedication, and then God goes to Solomon and says, I will deliver as you requested. But if you walk away from me, you'll find yourself in a disaster. Chapter 8 lists some of Solomon's accomplishments along his time as king. In chapter 9, the Queen of Sheba comes there, and Solomon becomes the richest king, and he dies. So tomorrow we'll continue with chapter 10. So that's it for today, folks. Thank you so much for watching. All of y'all who were in the morning stream, and Bill, Break Fix, J Gemma, Metro, Giga, Bigga 74, and Jack, and also Dixon. Go in peace and